Okay, yesterday we're learning the Dvar Malchut, the words of royalty that the Rebbe spoke in 1991, and it was on Shabbat Hagadol, the big Shabbat, called the big Shabbat. What's the big Shabbat? The big Shabbat is the Shabbat before Passover. The Shabbat before Passover. Why is it called a big Shabbat? Because there was a big miracle. What was the big miracle? That the firstborn of Egypt heard from the Jews that there's going to be the 10th plague. What's the 10th plague? That all of the firstborn of Egypt are going to drop dead. And the firstborn of the Egyptians said, one second, we're firstborn. That means us. I don't, God will decide. It's not up to me. God did it. Says, but one second, why does God want to kill the firstborn? Says, I don't know. Said, I don't. Why did he want to bring hail from heaven with fire inside of it? And why did he kill? I don't know. God wants there to be 10 plagues. But anyway, you are the star of the 10 plagues. All you guys are going to die. So they all went to the king. They went to Paro. And they said, Paro, listen, we got a problem over here. And Paro said, I'm ready to listen. I'm your man. I'm your king. I only care about you. He says, did you hear there's going to be a plague? The Jewish people are taking the sheep and goats into their house. And that's our God. And we asked them why they're doing that. And they said, because we're going to kill your God. That's the sheep and the goats. We're going to kill them. We're going to eat them. And then God is going to kill the firstborn. And so the king says, so what's the problem? And get to the point. He says, well, we're firstborn. We're firstborn. God is going to kill us. So the king said, listen, I'm also a firstborn, and I'm not convinced. He said, well, you're not convinced. You're a nut. There's already been 9 plagues. All the plagues were all decimated. Let the Jews go. And Paro said, please show these people out. Show these people out. I said, well, Your Majesty, what are you doing? And we're all going to be killed. He said, guards, please, security, take these people out. So they went outside and they said, listen, the king is going to kill all of us. Let us make a war. And the firstborn smote Egypt. Makem Mitzrayim b'Bechoreim. The firstborn of Egypt smote the Egyptians. They made a war against the army. The firstborn of Egypt organized, and they didn't have much time to organize because the plague, they didn't know what was going to come. The plague, we're going to kill. We're going to kill the king. Let's get the king. We got to let the Jews go. So it ended up that the firstborn, the choice of Egypt, the firstborn, like the cream of the crop, they were like the representative, the pride of Egypt. They made a war against the king. So Egypt it ended up that the pride of Egypt started fighting for the Jews. They started fighting for listen, I don't like this to say, well, here we see another sign of what's going on. But maybe we can say this. This is me saying this, right? Just now in Iran, they killed this wrestler that he represented Iran in the Olympics. And because he opposed the king. So he's something like the choice of Iran, right? The choice of Iran. He was a wrestler. I don't know how he did in the Olympics, but if he made the Olympics, it must have been pretty good. So he was the representative of Iran, right? In this, and he fought against the kingship. He fought against them. So it's something like the firstborn fighting against Paro. I mean, I think that Paro and his men won, but what's going on over here? Something wrong. Let's do this again. There we go, like this. There we go. Let's do like this. There we go. Good. Okay. So I said that's the big miracle, and it happened in the month of Nisan. Nisan is the month of miracles. Who brought about all this business? Moses. Moses appears on the scene, says, Jews, you're getting out of Egypt. And the Jews, they said, listen, we're working, we got to make bricks for Paro. So, thanks, could you just stay on the side? Or maybe help us, Moses. We're making bricks. Moses said, forget about the bricks. Forget about Paro. Forget about making the sphinxes or whatever they did. They built these cities. You're getting out of Egypt. Get it? You're leaving Egypt. And they said, wow, we knew that our parents told us that their parents told them that they were told by their parents that there's someone's going to come and get us out of Egypt. And so Moses was the one who got them out of Egypt. He went and spoke to Paro. He was the one that brought the plagues. He was the one that got them out. Moses. Let's understand who is Moses. Who is Moshe? What is the novelty of Moses? Shehu bedugmas. This is something like what's going to be the Moshiach in the future redemption. Therefore, the first redemption was going out of Egypt. This was by Moshe. Now, you have to realize something over here. The Jewish people depend on redemption, geula. I mean, you have to think about this. All of the Jewish people, all of them, they were all slaves in Egypt. Nobody had like a cousin in San Francisco you could call up. Listen, it's hard times over. There was nobody. All the Jews in the whole world, there were no Jews existing anywhere except in slavery in Egypt. And they were in slavery for 210 years. Easy slavery, hard slavery, but they were slavery for 210 years. And then all of a sudden comes along Moses, and he gets all of them out. All of them out. It says that 4/5 of the Jews didn't want to leave, so they died in the plague of the darkness. But whoever wanted to leave left. It ended up to be like, about 3 million people left, 600,000 males above 20, and that's not counting the children, not counting the women. So let's say there's 3 million people. Whatever estimate you want to make, it was certainly more than 2 million people. They all left Egypt at one time. That's the Jews. That's the Jews. Every person who was a Jew today had a relative that left Egypt. It says even that the converts today, this says the souls of the converts were at Mount Sinai. So if you're a Jew today, you're a Jew. Even if you don't know you're a Jew, but you're a Jew, it means that you have a relative, a direct relative that left Egypt, that experienced this. Says even converts, their souls were part of the Jews that left Egypt. They went to Mount Sinai. And the whole business was because of Moses. Moses got the Torah. Moshe took them out of Egypt. Who is this person, Moshe? Says the Mashiach is going to be even greater than Moshe. He's going to do even bigger miracles than Moshe. How can that be? We'll see. But that's what the Rebbe trying to get us into our head. Just like the Jews that were in Egypt didn't dream that they were going to get out of Egypt. They heard the story, but it was like, a story. Okay, it'll happen. Like people buy the lottery, it's going to happen. We hope it'll happen, But here it's like, you buy the lottery and no one won the lottery for 3,000 years. No one won the lottery, right? But you know that there's something like this. It's how to say, it's compounding. It's building up. Since the Jews left Egypt, we've been waiting for Moshiach to come and bring all the Jews, build the temple, permanent temple, and it hasn't happened, right? But it's going to happen. For sure it's going to happen. And now the Rebbe is coming and he's telling us, wake up, get ready. Any instant it's going to be. It's going to happen. Just like we didn't believe it back then, but we knew deep down it was going to happen. The same thing as now. But the Rebbe wants us to make it not deep down. It should be imminent. And when I say imminent. So who is this person, Moses? Excuse me. Moses is going to be something like it's going to be in the future redemption. Therefore, the redemption came by means of Moses. Kafi, like Sefer Tilim, like it says in Sefer Tilim, in the 90th Psalm. There's 150 Psalms in Tilim, in Psalms. Psalm number 90. It starts off now in these days, because the Rebbe was saying this when he was going into his 90th year. Shematchil tefillah Moshe. It says the prayer to Moses, Ish Elokim, a man, you could say a man of God or a man God. Shemasayim, and it says, there's also in the Torah, there's a sentence like that. Zota bracha shebarach Moshe Ishu Elokim. This is a man of God, or the man God. It says in the Midrash that Moses, from the upper half of Moses was God, and the lower half of Moses was man. Go understand what that means. But we see that Moses did amazing things. I mean, there's nobody even dreamed of doing something like that. Messiah, and it ends up by Yehi Noam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, that's the Psalm number 90. It says, may the pleasantness of God be on us, and our handiwork should be permanent for us, and our handiwork should be permanent. That's Moses. That's the prayer to Moses. The 90th Psalm. Look it up. 90th Psalm. It's a prayer for Moses, the man of God. And it ends up, may the pleasantness of God be on us, and the deeds of our hands should be permanent. Mizmor Zeh, this psalm is especially is unique in that it talks about Moses, a prayer to Moses, and it's the first of the 11 psalms from up to David Mizmor. It says that these 7 psalms, these 11 psalms that Moses said them, from 90, from Sarah number 90 until 101. Excuse me. It says that Moses said them all. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, that Moses said them all. Let's go back. Excuse me. Got something with. So this is special because it talks about, it starts with the king, with Moses, and it says that, and it talks about the work of Moses, whatever Moses did, including what Moshe did for the Jewish people and to the Jewish people, and what he did for the world and to the world. Moses. Only like the rabbis say, that Yehi Noam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, that the pleasantness of God should be on us. That's the end of the psalm. This is a blessing and a prayer of Moshe regarding the tabernacle that he made. Moshe made the tabernacle, and he prayed to God, saying, may it be God's will that his Shekhinah, his presence should rest on our handiwork, and the pleasantness of God should be on us. What does it mean? So only the prayer of Moses, this brought about God's presence in the tabernacle. They did all the work. They built it. It was difficult to build the tabernacle, the boards, the walls. But the main thing was to reveal God there. And it didn't happen until Moshe prayed. And he prayed this prayer. And it should be in a way of konana aleinu. It should be permanent to us, b'kaviyut. God's presence should be felt by the Jewish people and by the world. The door for all generations. Until how it will be in the third temple. Like the words of the rabbis that said, Maaseh Yadeinu konanu, this is talking about the third temple. And on it, God said, in the future, I will build it, and I will put my presence there, and it will never be destroyed. The tabernacle and the first temple and the second temple were built by man. Moses and Bezalel, they built the tabernacle, and the first temple was built by King Solomon, and the second temple was built by Nehemiah, it says, in the days of Ezra, when the Jews came back from Babylon, but that was built by people, and they were destroyed. The third temple will be built by God himself, and therefore it will be eternal. And it was all done by means of Moses, one person. Now, maybe you want to say, come on, how can one person cause this big change? So look at Adam, the first man. Adam did one little sin. He ate from this tree, and he brought millions and millions of people died because of that. He brought death to the world. If one little sin can do so much bad, there's a principle in Judaism that good is more powerful than bad. Meruba mida tova mimidat perennial. If one little bad thing can bring so much evil and death and destruction into the world, how much more so one good thing, one good person, Moses doing one good thing can fix the whole business up. And that was what the Torah was. The Torah fixed it, especially because God wants there to be good. That's why good is more powerful. Okay, maybe we haven't seen that clearly, but the fact is it's so. We can see that also a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. If you're in a totally dark auditorium, all the lights go out, everybody starts to get scared. One person lights one little tiny light, all of a sudden everyone is comforted. People are. Okay, let's explain this. That's Moses. Moses lit the little light. He brought the Torah into the world. That's what we celebrate going out of Passover. Mainly, it's the holiday of Moses. Obir Bazeh explanation is, let's explain the double language, Kefal Lashon, in the beginning of the Mizmor and at the end. Now we're excuse me, we're analyzing the 90th Psalm, which is a psalm to Moses, which Moses is the main character of Judaism and of the Torah and going out of Egypt. Main character is Moses. So let's analyze this. It says in the beginning of the psalm, now you have to realize another thing. The Psalms were written by King David, right? But they really weren't written by King David. The Psalms were written by God. The Psalms are a book of the Torah. The Torah is written by God. All of it is written by God. The Psalms. There's different laws about, if one letter is missing. Excuse me. The 5 books of Moses have a unique holiness to them, and Psalms have a little less. But nevertheless, it's all the word of God. So what King David is writing, he's just transcribing what God is telling him to write. Therefore, he brought Psalms from Moses. Moses lived way before King David, right? Moses lived 400 years before King David, 500 years before King David. So all the words of Psalms, they were the words of God. So if in the Psalm there's a doubled over language, that must have some meaning to it. So it says, why is it that it doubles over? It says, Tefillah Moshe, a prayer to Moses, and then it says, the man of God. And in the end, similarly, it also repeats. It says, may the pleasant of godliness rest on us. And here we go. And our handiwork should be permanent. And it repeats it again. And our handiwork should be permanent. So the psalm could have started off, this is a prayer to Tefillah Moshe, a praise of God, a praise of Moses. Why does it have to say the prayers of Moses, the man of God? We know Moses was a man of God. Why? It says in the Torah, in Parshat, in Zota Bracha, it says Moses is a man of God. Just say in Psalms, this is the prayer of Moses. Everybody knows what Moses we're talking about. Why does it have to double it over? This is the prayer of Moses, the man of God. And also in the end of the Psalm, also there's a repetition. It says, may our handiwork, what we make, be permanent for us, and may our handiwork be permanent. Why double it over? One of the explanations is like this. In order to reveal godliness in this physical world, in a permanent way. That was the idea of the Holy Temple, the tabernacle, that godliness should be revealed permanently in the world. V'shachanti b'tocham, I will dwell within them in a permanent place. In a way of konan u'alena should be in a way that's stable, unmoving. In order to make God revealed in this physical world in a permanent way, you have to have two things, two diametric opposites, and you have to join them together. First of all, a power which is above normal conduct, above normal, natural, worldly things. It has to be so high that it has the power to bring into the world godliness, a godliness which is not supposed to be revealed in the world. The world is created to conceal God. So it has to come from, and you want to reveal God in the world, it has to come from a high place that's not relevant to any of the worlds, not even spiritual. You want to reveal that in a way to change the world, that the world should be a vessel for godliness, and especially in a way that it's permanent. Therefore, you have to have a very, very high power to do this. Because we're talking about revealing the essence of God into the world. And the world is the opposite of God. God is pure reality, pure good, unchanging truth. In this world, everything changes all the time. As far as I know, even the atoms, even molecules, everything is always changing. Everything in the world is different from everything else in the world. Everything. Even if you have identical atoms, they're all in different places. Not only that, there's time also in the world. There's place, there's also time. Time changes everything. In the course of time, everything exists. And as you want to reveal godliness in the world, so therefore, it has to come from a very, very high place that's not connected to any changes whatsoever. Pure, unchanging truth, reality. The highest of highs, above all the angels. The angels are all burning up. They're all changing all the time. And that's one side. But the other side is you have to have this power of godliness has to come down and be revealed until it's in the world. If it's too high, like it was in Mount Sinai, for instance, it says God revealed in Mount Sinai. God took the Jews out of Egypt, split the sea, rained bread from heaven, water from a rock, and prepared the Jews. You know who God is? Of course, God took us out of Egypt. God is giving us bread to eat, everything, right? God is wonderful. God creates the world. God is the one. He's everything. God is our Father. God is our Master. God is everything. God, right? Okay, you're ready for the revelation of Mount Sinai? We are ready. So God said, I am God. They said, we're not ready. We can't take it. Just 1 second. I get just a few more commandments. No. Okay, let me finish the first two. Like, the child sits on the dentist chair. Says, just one more second. And then, no, I want to go home. The Jews weren't ready for it. It was such a beautiful, pure revelation, but the world wasn't prepared. So there has to be a revelation. You want God to be in a world in a permanent way. It has to be not like it was in Mount Sinai. It has to be a high essence of God revelation, but it has to be somehow or other toned down in the world. But so if you tone it down, then it's not the high revelation anymore. How are you going to do that? Like it's known, Sha'mevarer, that if one thing purifies another, it has to be in the garments of the thing that's being refined. Shadav ka'az, that only then it has its power to make from this a vessel, a place which is set in the world in an inner way, in a personal way that you can internalize it. which is not the case if the revelation is incomparable, so it won't be there permanently. It'll go away. I don't know if you can give the example, but I think this is maybe a good example. I once took a whole series of classes on addictions. So people that get addicted to things, let's say people are alcoholics. So a guy's an alcoholic and he can't go the day without taking, like 7, 8, 10 shots of vodka or something like that. He's got to get drunk. Something good happens, he gets drunk. Something bad happens, he gets drunk. If he's bored, he gets drunk. If he's active, whatever it is, he's an alcoholic. So he goes to Alcoholics Anonymous, and they say you got to go cold turkey, and he stops taking, right? And they show him what an ideal life he could have. He could be married, he could have children. Here he wrecked his whole life up, and he stops. He stops. But the problem with it is, it's not in his personality yet. His personality is that any little sort of a change, interruption in his what he wants, as he starts to drink. So you have to somehow or other incorporate this idea of integrity and humanness and purity into his day-to-day life. How do you react when something makes you mad? How do you maybe not get angry? How do you react when you have a big desire? How do you react when it's good? All these things that used to be triggers for him, that he thought that's him, suddenly he has to change everything and adapt it to, let's say, ideally, to God. Listen, God is creating you. You weren't created to get drunk all the time. You weren't created to be so he's always thinking about how can I put God into my anger, into my this and that. Ideally, it's supposed to be that it changes the person, but it comes down to his level so that he can internalize it. Then it becomes permanent. The same thing we want to do in the world. We want to reveal the essence of God in the world in a permanent way so that the whole world is permanently good. Before people go and steal, they think, what does God want me to do? Right? God will provide. He wants me to get a job. God will help me. He'll help me find a job. Before he goes and pulls that trigger on his next door neighbor because he drives over his lawn all the time, he thinks, 1 second, what does God want me to do? Right? And before he steals somebody else's money, he'll think, what does God want me to do? It's a viable alternative. It becomes part of his being. So if you want godliness to be revealed in the world, it has to come from, first of all, a very high place, the essence of God. But on the other hand, it has to somehow or other be articulated so that every human being can internalize it. אני מוסר שיעור בעוד רבע שעה, בסדר, נדבר עוד רבע שעה. טוב? So there have to be these two opposites. These two opposites, we can say that these are why there has to be doubled and redoubled in the beginning of the Psalm 90 and the end of Psalm 90. Remember, we're talking about Moses. They'll be complete and revealed by means of these two things, the essence of God being revealed in the lowest place and making the world a proper vessel so that it can be revealed permanently. That is the job of Moses. Moshe is the mamutza. Moshe is the go-between, the connector, which connects between the essence of God and the Jewish people. As Moses himself said, I am standing between God and between you. And a means and a go-between, a connector, it has to have both of these two, right? You want to be the ambassador to Russia from America, so you have to speak English and you have to speak Russian. You have to speak both. And that's what it means. Is Moshe is the Ish Elokim, he's the man of God. And the rabbis say, if Moses is a man God, it says, if Moses is like God, why is he a man? And if Moses is a man, how can he be God? So it says from half of him below is man, and the half of Moses above, the upper half of Moses is God. Therefore, Moshe was able to go on Mount Sinai and receive the tablets when everybody else was just shaking. They were all going crazy. And Moshe was able to go up there for 40 days and 40 nights. He did it 3 times to go to the essence of God. But on the other hand, he came down to the Jewish people. He was a human being like everybody else. Because Moshe himself incorporated these two opposites, he was a man and he was also God. Therefore, Moshe had the power to join and to link, to come, to unify godliness with the world. In even more simple language, we can say that these two opposites, they are Shnei and Yanim. This is the two opposites of Moshe, that's him in the world, and Ish Elokim, and he's a man of God. Before we said he was a man and God, but here we can also say it was Moshe, that was the man, and Ish Elokim, that's the God part. That's the double, that's the repetition at the beginning of the psalm. Namely, even though that Moshe was an Ish Elokim, the word Ish Elokim, it already joins two opposites. Ish is a pure person and Elokim is God, as it is in one person, Moshe. But nevertheless, the name Elokim is the gematria of nature. Nature, Hateva, is the same numerical value as Elokim, 86, 87. Mizui, and this is the level of godliness which is enlivens the world, the name Elokim. Therefore, it says that Moshe is a man God. What does it mean? That the aspect of Moses, which is man, namely that's the lower half of Moses, Moses, as it is attached to the world, is united with Elokim. That's godliness which is relevant to the creation, but not in the essence of God. Gile Elokus, which is above the world. So Ish Elokim indicates how Moses was a man, but he was connected to Elokim. That's the lower aspect of God, the name Elokim. But the word Moshe, Moshe comes from the essence. How does Moshe come from the essence of God? Not like I said before. I'm sorry, I made a mistake before. Moshe is the essence. Why is Moshe talking about the essence? Because Moses is, why was his name Moses? Minamayim Mishitiu. And it says he was drawn from the water. What's the water? It says the water is one of the names of God. Mem Hey 45. Ma. Nachnu Ma, like Moses said later on. This is the name of God which is above Ish Elokim. So Moshe, that's talking about the essence of Moshe. That's the pure godliness which is above the world, drawn out of the water. And Ish Elokim is the lower aspect of Moshe. This is how Moshe was connected to the lower aspect of God, Elokut, godliness, which is above the creation. That's Moshe. It's known, the explanation is that the connection, the soul, the source of the soul of Moses was from such a high level. This was from the level of water, from the concealed worlds which are above all of the spiritual worlds. That's what Moses was drawn from the water. He was drawn from the essence of godliness. This is from the concealed aspect of God. That's Moshe. Moshe was a totally different type of a soul than any other soul. Moshe. It says that only Adam was higher than Moses, and Moshiach will be higher than Adam. But Moses, Moshe was like pure godliness, but he was enclosed in Elokim, and then finally in the level of Ish. Kach kafil, like it is, like Moshe is found in a body, and below, nevertheless, it was still Moshe there. It was from the water. He was totally united with godliness, with truth, all the time, just like fish. Fish live totally in the water. So it comes out that Moshe, which that's the essence of Moses, Ish Elokim, which is how Moses was in the world connected to God, the aspect of God in the world. This indicates two things. First of all, Moshe, this is Moses, his connection to God, which is totally above even the spiritual. That's Moshe. This gives the power to reveal godliness in the world, the power. Well, what about the world itself? Can the world accept this? That's the second part of Moshe. Ish Elokim. That's Moses' connection as an ish, as a man, with Elokut, the level of godliness which is connected to the world, relevant to the world. So there's three aspects of Moshe. Moshe is the essence of God. Elokim is the connector, the lower aspect of God, which creates the world. And Ish is how Moshe was a person in the world. This gives the power to draw godliness in the world and to all the Jewish people, souls and bodies, in a way that they're able to make vessels for godliness. You read stories about the Rebbes of Chabad, especially the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe and the Rebbe. But on one hand, I mean, if you read Maimer, I'm reading now some discourses of the previous Rebbe and that he wrote. They're just so tremendously deep, and he's talking about these levels of the essence of God, and he's talking as though he's there. It's not just he's talking like I would write one of those Maimers that I'm talking about somebody else or something that I understand. This is not Rebbe talking about something he understands. This is the Rebbe talking about something that he is. The essence of God. You read these discourses, they're just amazing. On the other hand, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe dealt with the most simple people and the most simple things and the most minute, right, seemingly meaningless details, to give loans to people that, that, that they didn't have to give loans to them. Right? I mean, without any expectation of getting the money back. We see other great people in Israel that do the same thing. There are other great leaders in Israel. They were great, great people, but they dealt with simple children. I've heard stories about Rabbi Moshe Feinstein and others, how they talked to small children and how they dealt with, they were great people, but they dealt with small details in the world because that's very important. Right? All these little children, let's say the Rabbi Moshe Feinstein talked to, they would remember that the whole rest of their life. Little children that all they're thinking about is, playing ball or something like that. But the job of Moshe was to bring pure godliness, which is Moshe, into Elokim, which is godliness, which is relevant to the world. And finally, the level of Ish, that it should be in the world in a permanent way. Revealed godliness in the world, that God should dwell in them. That's the whole purpose of the Holy Temple, that God should dwell not only in the temple, but in the world, and in every single Jew, and eventually every single human being should feel the Creator and the reason why they're creating, why they're being created. And that's the purpose of Moshe Ish Elokim, and that's what we're reading about now, and that's the whole essence of what Passover is, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.